What's going on, everyone? So Brandon Ingram and the New Orleans Pelicans are an absolute mess. So the New Orleans Pelicans had a voluntary, just to be fair, but a voluntary little mini camp, and everyone went except for Brandon Ingram and Daniel Tice, but he just got with the team, so he's trying to get settled. It made sense he wasn't there. New Orleans expected Brandon Ingram to be there. They thought he was going to be there, and he just no-called, no-showed. Again, it's a voluntary, so they can't, reprimand him or anything like that. But it's not a good sign, right? They are clearly at a disconnect. Their relationship is clearly done and over with. Brandon Ingram wants out. The Pelicans want to trade Brandon Ingram. The Pelicans have been very active in trading Brandon Ingram. And even Brandon Ingram's people have been very active in trying to trade Brandon Ingram. And the market has been essentially non-existent. Because he's making, or he wants, he's not making, but he wants a 40-year or a $40 million a year type contract. He wants a new deal making 40 plus million, right? He wants a 4-year, $160 million deal. And he's just not worth it. Look, Brandon Ingram is a very good, very talented player. But he's, in my opinion, he's not a number one option. And we've seen that. 2, I don't think that he's even really a number 2 option. I think depending, if you had, say, Giannis or Jokic or something like that, then yeah, I think Brandon Ingram could do it. But, in most cases, right, I don't, is Brandon Ingram and Luka enough to win a championship? I don't know, right? Luka and Kyrie went, but is, Anthony Davis and Brandon Ingram enough to win a championship? I don't think so. Is Brandon Ingram and Steph Curry enough to win a championship? I don't think so. But on top of him wanting an insane contract, he also can't stay healthy. I mean, look, he's an excellent talent. He's 6'8", 6'9". He's got 7'3" wingspan. Dude, go get you 25, 6 and 6. Shoot the 3, beat guys off the dribble, knock down the mid-range, just go get an absolute bucket and be a mismatch, right? When he's locked in and engaged, can play some defense. Not this, elite, just absolute clamp defender, but he can play defense when he wants to, and he's engaged, because he does have the size and the length, right? But it's just, again, what team wants him? What team wants to take the gamble on him, especially when he's only playing, 50 games a season? And what team wants to pay a bunch of money to have him play 50 games a season? Right? He is, right now, if you were to trade for him, he's still making, $36 million? Something like that. Right? So he's still making a pretty penny. So you'd have to trade, most teams would have to trade multiple players and multiple pieces to go get him. And then, you still want to maintain contention status. And then on top of that, right, it's just does Brandon Ingram fit? And does he work? He's a very specific player. That's why I think the only way that I think New Orleans trades Brandon Ingram is either A, team in desperation, or B, a team that is willing to take a gamble on him, but is okay with him walking and clearing salary. And a team that is linked to Brandon Ingram is the Golden State Warriors. So the Golden State Warriors, now there are reports kind of both ways. There are reports that say, that the Warriors are unlikely to pursue Brandon Ingram. And then the reports that no, that they do want to. And look, the Warriors are in the market. They're trying to get somebody to pair with Steph. They've been linked to several players. They were in the Lauri Markkanen trade hunt, right? They were trying to put packages together and in those negotiations. Steph Curry, there's a lot of just talk of how long is he going to kind of put up with this, right? Now, Steph did sign a new extension, and a lot of people think oh, that's because, he's staying and he's going to retire a Warrior. Not necessarily. It actually makes more sense now for him to be traded, because now he has the security, and the team trading for Steph has the security, rather than like, hey, you trade for him and then a year later he retires or he leaves. Him signing the extension actually makes it even more likely he gets traded, or makes it more, maybe not more likely that he gets traded, but makes more sense if he gets traded, right? But the Warriors, I do think they're better than they were last year, but they still don't have that second guy. They still don't have that guy that can kind of take the pressure off of Steph and doesn't need Steph to be just absolutely great, right? Like night in and night out. Because Steph is getting older and he has had some injury history the last few years. And it's just, it's one of those things where it's like, can you, or do you end up being in a position to where you have no choice? You have to pull something off. Do you have to go and trade for Brandon Ingram and just roll the dice with him? Right? Does Steph kind of put that pressure on the Warriors to where you have to roll the dice? You have to go get something done, right? Like, I don't want to wait around and and be on this. I mean, look, he said he wants to retire Warrior, but he also said he doesn't want to be on a bottom-feeding team. He doesn't want to have to go through rebuild. And the Warriors aren't really interested in trading some of their young guys, right? Like, they wouldn't trade Jonathan Kuminga for Lauri Markkanen. They wouldn't trade Pod for Lauri Markkanen. The Warriors and Steph might just be in different places. Steph still believes that he has it in him to win. He still wants to win. He's only getting older, right? You look at the Warriors. They have a bunch of really good young talent. So to them, it's kind of like, do you just kind of trade Steph or do you trade the young guys? It's a dilemma that they're going to figure out. You also now have the pressure of LeBron James trying to lure Steph to the Lakers. And it's kind of like, hey, buddy, right? Like, not working out in Golden State. Come here. You, me, and Anthony Davis, we can win some championships, baby. And look, I mean, it would make all the sense in the world. Right? Steph gets to go to a contender because LeBron, Steph, and Anthony Davis would be a contender. It doesn't really even matter who is left on that roster. The Warriors would probably get more young guys. They'd probably get Austin Reeves and Dalton Connect and all these other young guys, Max Christie and stuff like that. Like, they probably get essentially whatever they want from the Lakers, picks, all that stuff. So there is that pressure. There is that sense of like, like, we may have to do something. And that something that you may have to do may end up being Brandon Ingram. You may end up having no choice but to go trade for Brandon Ingram. Again, the Warriors could end up being in a rock and a hard place to where it's like, man, we really got to get this done. We got to go track down and get Brandon Ingram. And now, what would it take to go get Brandon Ingram? I don't think it would cost much. Like, if I'm the Warriors, I'm not giving up picks. I'm not doing any of that stuff. Right? I'm like, hey, we'll work something out to, like, kind of help you with what you need. Right? Because, what do the Pelicans need? They need a center. The problem is the Warriors don't really have centers themselves, right? So do you maybe work out a 3-team deal to where maybe you're sending one of the young guys? Is that something that you're doing? That could be a possibility, right? Like, so, maybe a team has a center that makes sense, and you're sending like Andrew Wiggins, and then a young center or something like that, somebody that can fill in the role. Would the Pelicans be interested in like maybe a Kevon Looney? Because you have Trace Jackson Davis. I mean, you have him, and he's kind of looked good last season for them, kind of in that Kevon Looney role. Right? He's done a good job kind of filling in those gaps, being that guy. Like, there were questions and reports that the Warriors were considering just letting Kevon Looney walk and just kind of waiving him because he only had, like, I think, off the top of my head, it was like $4 million guaranteed or something like that. So, do you look at it and go, hey, we'll give you Kevon Looney and, and Andrew Wiggins, so you kind of get a piece that, is not as good as Brandon Ingram, but kind of that lengthy, long forward, two guard that can kind of fill in the gaps and, kind of play a role, come off the bench, be a starter, whatever. Oh, and we'll give you a Kevon Looney that gives you a center, got excellent rebounder, an offensive rebounder in particular. Yeah, he's not a true center. No, he's not, 7 feet or anything like that, but, he's one of the better rebounders, and he's just really good at just positioning himself. Right, you could end up finding this, like, compromised happy medium, this kind of win-win situation where, the Warriors kind of get that secondary piece, and then the Pelicans get players that kind of help them right now, but also taking on Brandon Ingram, if it doesn't work out, or let's say you have like 2 options, right? If it doesn't work out, you could just let him walk. No big deal, right? You just cleared a bunch of cap space. And the Warriors already could have as much as, I think, like $40 million next year, right? So, like, you're fine. But if it does work, you could maybe sign him on a more reasonable deal, right? I think Brandon Ingram's going to be the first, like, casualty of the new CBA. Like, I think if it wasn't for this new CBA, I think Brandon Ingram would probably get 30, 35 million. I still don't think he'd get 40 million. Maybe there'd be a team that just says, let's just do it, right? And he'd still be our third guy. But I think he'd probably get 30, 35 million. Now, he's probably 20 to 25 million. Because, again, what team is paying him all that money? So if you're the Warriors, can you get him for, say 30 million and then go sign another piece or two if he works and he's great and he's, fitting in perfectly alongside Steph? Also, you kind of are in a win-win situation again because, like, you can just, like if he's like, no, I'm not going to sign for 25 million or whatever with you, go ahead, go test free agency. And if it doesn't work, if you don't have, like, because again, who's signing him to more than that? And if somebody does, no big deal. You just let him walk. All right. Well, now we got a bunch of cap space for a bunch of free agents next season. I don't know. I don't think it's a bad position for them to be in. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you look at it and go like, yeah, hey, you know what? I think you should go after Brandon Ingram. Do you think no, stay as far away from Brandon Ingram as possible? Do you like the idea of, like, hey, it's a win-win. If you trade for him and it works, great. You can re-sign him. If it doesn't, you just let him walk and you got some cap space. Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.